Okay, so this is what it looks like. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the construction of it, so you don't, whenever you start making it, you don't think it looks weird. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give you some measurements too. Now, the size right here that I'm making, now since the stitches are very, very stretchy, I mean they're chains and they stretch all of it, has the capability of fitting this one of multiple sizes, and I'll tell you how to make it bigger too. So as this one stands, I think it'll fit a small, medium, and a large. Okay, and that's the size that I'm making. So because of its ability to stretch. I tried on my daughter, who was a small, fits her fine. Okay, so it's about 16 inches across, but the stretch on it, I think it can stretch further. You know, it might even be able to fit an extra large, but because the stretch is so much, it stretches to like 21. But I'd say small, medium to large, and then the length from at the shoulder all the way down is about 25 inches. And that's right at the shoulder, at the top, down to the bottom. Well, 25 and a half, 26 inches probably. Yep, 26. I'll tell you how to make extra large, 2X, and 3X, and you can even go bigger if you wanted to. And then, okay, so it is 2 long pieces, and they're sewed together here up the middle, and that I stopped sewing here, which creates the V-neck that you see, and it's also sewed up in the back. The 2 pieces are. So the 2 pieces you make in the beginning are really long. So right here, this piece is all one piece. It wraps around the top and goes to the back, and then it is sewn together at the side. So you see what it looks like on me. I am 5'3", barely 5'3". So if you want it to be longer or shorter, all you have to do is adjust your beginning chain. I'll tell you the multiple to make it shorter or longer. Say you want it to be long, like I said, I do say in the video, you can leave the front open and make it a vest. Maybe you wanted a long vest, you just need to make your chain longer, okay? Otherwise, it's very easy to do. As you can see, it's just double crochets, chains, and single crochets. It's not hard. If you've never made a garment before, do not be scared. The sleeves are added on separate. They're all just double crochet. You can leave them off. You can make them longer. You know, it's up to you. It's very versatile as far as adjusting it to your liking. And then I put some trim around the bottom and around the neck, and it is done. I think it turned out quite well. I do. So when you stretch it, you can see the chains a bit more. But yeah, all right. Let's go and get started. Okay, for this project, I used a Lion Brand Tribou Sparkle. Now, you do not have to use this yarn, but it is a lightweight number 3 or a DK. My recommendation would be to use a DK for this project, or a lightweight 3. There are, the color I used is called Plum, and there are 195 yards per ball. And I went through, for the size that I used, 3.5, probably. So about 700 yards for my size. If you're going to make it the bigger size, you might need 8 or 850. That would probably be my guess on that. Okay, and then I'm going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5mm crochet hook. Okay, and if you want to gauge this, it is 15 single crochets across equal 4 inches, and 16 rows of single crochet equal 4 inches. Okay, if you're following along with me and you like the length of mine, I chained 180 stitches. Now remember, that's going to make one big long piece, and it is going to wrap around from like your waist or however long you want it over the top of your shoulder and then back around to your behind. So that's the length of what we're doing here. And if you want it longer, it needs to be done, your chain needs to be done in a multiple of 3. So following along with me, I chained 180. Now once you get that 180, we're going to do 1 double crochet in the 4th stitch from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So this little chain right here on the end, he counts as a double crochet. And now we have another, so that's 2. Now we're going to work and we're going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to the end of our row. I'm not that great at working with a lightweight 3, so that's why my hands are shaking. Alright, so I'm going to put 1 double in every stitch until I make it to the end. Just like that. Okay, so once you make it to the end of row 1, you should have 178 stitches, and that is counting this little chain guy here on the end. Okay, so now we're going to start row 2. So row 2 starts the repeat row for the rest of the pattern. It's rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but they're not hard. So what we're going to do for row 2 is we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. And we're going to put 1 single crochet right here into this very first stitch. Okay, now we're going to start the repeat for row 2. We are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and then the next we're going to put a single crochet. And then we're going to repeat that. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, skip, skip, single, into the next. One more time. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, skip, skip, single, into the next. And we're going to repeat this pattern until we get to the end of row 2. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 2. I just did a chain 3, skip 2, and single crochet in the next, and you should have 3 stitches left, and that includes the chain on the end. So go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, skip 2 stitches, and single crochet into the last stitch, and that will end row 2. Just like that. So these chains is what makes it so stretchy of a pattern. Okay, so now we're going to start row 3. Row 3, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. We are going to put a half double crochet into the very first stitch. So a half double, so we just yarn over, go into that very first stitch, and draw through all 3 loops on our hook. And then we're going to chain 1 like that. Okay, now we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next chain 3 space. So right here, we're just going to put a single crochet right through the space. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 3. We're going to chain 3 and a single crochet into the next chain 3 space. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and that's what we're going to repeat until we get near the end of row 3. chain 3 and single crochet in each of the chain 3 spaces. All right, I've come to the end of row 3. I just single crocheted into my last chain 3 space. So now what I'm going to do is chain 1 and put a half double crochet into the last stitch. That way it matches the other side, and that'll end row 3. Okay, now we're going to start row 4. Row 4, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. Row 4. So what we're going to do now is we are going to put 1 single crochet into the very first stitch. So right here, this half double crochet from the previous row, single crochet into it like that. And then we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and jump over here to the first chain 3 space and single crochet into it. And that's what we're going to repeat. Chain 3, next chain 3 space, single crochet into it, chain 3, jump to the next chain 3 space, single crochet into it, and we're going to repeat this pattern all the way to the end of row 4. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 4. I single crocheted my last chain 3 space. I'm going to chain 3 again and single crochet into my last stitch here on the end, which was a half double from the previous row, and that will end row 4. So now we got some stretchy chain spaces there. All right, now we're going to start row 5. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to put 1 double crochet right there back into that same very first stitch. Double crochet. Just like that. Now we're going to start the repeat of row 5. We're going to put 2 double crochets into the next chain 3 space. So right here, go right through the space and work 2 double crochets like that. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next single crochet like that. And that's what we're going to repeat until we get to the end of row 5. 2 double crochets into the next chain 3 space, and 1 double crochet into the next single crochet. 2 double crochets into the next chain 3 space, 1 double into the next single. So it's 2 doubles into every chain 3 space and 1 double into every single crochet until we get to the end of row 5. Okay, coming to the end of row 5, and I put 2 double crochets there in my last chain 3 space. I'm going to end by putting 1 double into my last stitch here on the end, and that'll complete row 5. Now we're going to start row 6, which is the final row of our repeat. We're going to chain 1 and turn. We're going to put 1 double crochet right here into the very first stitch. And we're going to work across putting 1 double in every single stitch until we get to the end of row 6. So this is just a double crochet row. Just like that. Okay, once you make it to the end of row 6, you should be back up to, if you're following along with me, 178 stitches. And that is the repeat row. You see the stretch on that? So for my size, you want to repeat rows 2 through 6. That's a complete repeat. And you want to do it a total of 4 times. So this would be number 1 right here. And then you want to repeat 2 through 6 3 more times. So you have a total of 4 repeat. It's going to look a little small, but that's okay, because remember, we're going to fold it in half and it's going to double the size. Plus it stretches so much. Now if you want a bigger size, like I mentioned, like a extra large, 2X, and probably a 3X, I would repeat it 5 times, because that's going to add several inches on to the top. And if you want it bigger than that, you can also do another repeat. Now I will put repeat, if you look in the comment section, the very first comment, it'll be from me, and I'll put timestamps to the starter rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can click on those and it'll take you back to the beginning of the row so you don't have to fiddle around and rewind and everything. So go ahead and finish that out. If you're following along with me, remember, do 4 total repeats, counting this one. Bigger sizes, up to 3, actually do 5 total repeats. And if you need bigger than that, like 4x or 5x, you could do 6 total repeats. And I must say though, remember, it's going to look small, but that's okay because of the way it's constructed. It'll get bigger. All right, I'll meet back up with you. All right, so I have my 2 panels done here, and I'll give you a measurement on my 2 panels. So my yarn is pretty stretchy, as you can see, which is good. So I'm going to give it a little bit of stretch on it, and then those chains can stretch out too. See that? But anyways, I'll go ahead and measure the width of mine. Tell you what mine is. So mine's measuring about 9 inches, okay? Wide. And then lengthwise, now you can see in the photos how far it does go down on me, and you can adjust your length to however you want it to lay on you, lengthwise. But again, it's gonna stretch a bit once this gets on my body, so it's about 51 or so inches now. Okay, so you want to make 2 the same, and then we will sew them up. So I have 2 the same. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to sew up each of these 2 pieces separately, and then we'll sew them together. So first you take your 1 piece. So this is the right side of my work facing me right now, and right here is the very first row that we did. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece, this is the right side, and when I fold it in half like this, now the wrong side is facing. That's what we want. That way when we flip it right side out, the seam will be on the inside of our work. And we're going to sew it up right here on our starting row. So I'm going to turn it around here so I can start down here and sewing it up. Now you can sew it up with a yarn needle, or you could sew it up, I'm going to slip stitch mine together, but you want to leave an armhole, okay? I always leave, for me, about a 6-inch armhole. So if you want to go ahead and mark off about 6 inches, if you have a little bit bigger arms, you could go, go down to 7. I might suggest trying it on, and doing it that way. That way you can know for sure. You don't want to sew it all the way up and then it be too tight. Well, I guess you could take out a few pieces, but take it out a little bit. But for me, from all the tops I've done, I know I need to leave about a 6-inch hole for my arm. So I'm going to start down here. Sorry about my dog. They're shooting off fireworks, and he's barking at them. He hates them. I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to slip stitch all the way up until I get to where I want my armhole to be. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start down here, and I'm going to match up my stitches. And I'm going to slip stitch mine together. So I'm going to go into the first stitch here, and then the first stitch on this side, and I'm going to pull my yarn through like that. Now I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go across and match up my stitches. So I'm going to go into this stitch on this piece, and then the next stitch on the next piece. If I can find it here, right here, and slip stitch. Again, the next stitch here, and then the next stitch on the back piece, and slip stitch it together. I'm going to do this all the way up until I get to the spot that I have marked off for my armhole. Remember, I left about 6 inches open for my armhole. You can leave a little bit more if you need to, or even less if you feel like it's too baggy. Just give it a quick try on. But I'm just going to work my way up. I'm going to do both panels the exact same too. So I'm going to slip stitch my way up until I get to my mark off from my armhole. And I'll meet back up with you up there, okay? I'm really not that great at working with the three-way. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to continue on up. Okay, so I have mine slip stitched all the way up until I have my armholes. Now, like I said, I left about 6 inches or so on my armhole. I think somewhere around there. Well, yeah, right about 6 inches. So mine came out to be 38 stitches for my armhole. And you make sure when you do the other piece that you leave the exact same amount of stitches. However many that is that you left. Like I left 38, so I want to make sure that my other piece has 38. So, okay, so I have my 2 panels sewn together. Remember to make your armholes the exact same size on both sides. So I have not flipped them right side out yet. So now what I'm going to see, you can see the seam there. That's going to be on the inside. What we're going to do is sew them together now, like this. So when you put them together like this, your 2 pieces, they're probably a bit bigger. I'll go ahead and measure them like together. And remember, they do have quite a stretch on them with those chain spaces. So this size will probably fit a few different sizes. I'm gonna go ahead and sew it up. So across now, oh, it's measuring about 18 inches. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do when we sew it together. I'm gonna use a yarn needle and a piece of yarn, and I'm gonna sew the front and back together. And remember, I still have the wrong side facing me. We'll flip it right side out once it's sewn. If you want to make a vest out of this, just sew only one side, okay? You can make it a vest or a top. Like, you can leave one side open and just sew up the back. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to sew it up here. Now, depending how far down you want your neck opening is completely up to you. Some people like it to go high up, and some people, you know, want it to go low. Maybe it is really up to you, honestly. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew it together. Remember, wrong side, still facing. So I'm going to start with these 2 right here. So, and then we'll sew this up, back side up. We'll flip it over and sew that back side up too if you don't want to make a vest. So I'm just going to use my yarn needle. I'm going to go through the first stitch. I'm going through both loops, and then the first stitch on the other side. And I'm going to pull through like that. Not all the way though. Leave a little bit there that you can sew in. And now I'm going to be working in a back and forth motion, like back. So I'm going to go into the next stitch here on this piece. Oh, I already went through that one. Yeah, the next stitch here and the next stitch on this piece through both loops and pull through. Go into the next stitch on this side, next stitch on the opposite side, pull through. So you can see I'm working in a back and forth motion. I'm not whipping it around like that over. So this is basically what I'm going to do until I get my neck open for as low or as high as I want it to be. In this part, you'll probably have to, you know, try on here and there. But I'm going to go ahead and work sewing mine up. And then I'll let you know how many inches I sew up for my neck area on mine. which could be completely different than what you do, and that's fine. Everybody likes different. So I'm going to continue up the front here, or the back, I guess. Both sides are the same, like this. And then when we flip it right, see there's the seam right now. When we flip it inside out, it will have a little bit cleaner of a seam there. You can see that. All right, I'm going to continue. Okay, so here is what I have done. For the front of my piece, I sewed up 17 inches from the bottom, and then I tied off. Now I flipped it over and I sewed the back the exact same way, but I went up a little bit further. So the back I sewed up almost, well, let me get it right on it here. I sewed up about 22.5, 23 inches on the back. So you can see there's a little bit V there that at the back. So what you want to do if you're making a vest is sew up a little bit further in the back than, you know, just a few inches shy, like that. And then you can leave your front open. But since I made on mine shirt, I left this open. Now remember, you can adjust that to your liking. I tried mine on and decided where I wanted to lay. Now let's flip it right side out and check out the seams, how good they look. Oh, that's a nice clean seam right there in the front. Look at that. Oh, we're doing some good work here, aren't we? Yes, we are, and I cannot wait to see your guys's. Okay, now we're going to do some sleeves. If you want sleeves, you can try it on. Some people don't want sleeves. If you don't, by all means, you can leave those off. I'm just going to put some double crochet sleeves. I'm also going to put a quick single crochet edge around the neck, and I'm going to put one around the bottom, and then we will be finished. So let's go ahead and do the neck. So I'm going to start, remember, we flipped it right side out, so the right side of our work is facing us now. Man, that's a beautiful seam. I got a thing for seams. When they look beautiful and almost non-existent, they're awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start here in the back of my work. So here's the back. Here's where I stopped sewing. I'm going to do single crochet now. So I'm just going to start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the other side. Here's where we tie it off. I'm going to start into that stitch. Okay. And I'm going to pull my yarn through. And I'm going to chain one. Now I'm going to do a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to chain one there. So I'm going to go back into that same stitch and draw up a loop. Then I'm going to jump over to the next stitch on the other side of the seam, right here, and go into it and draw up a loop. And I'll have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3. So that took those 2 stitches and made it into one. Now I'm going to work around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch, and I'm going to try to hide that tail as I go, because the fewer tails I have to hide is always better. So I'm going to work one single crochet in every stitch until I get to the front point, or the front V part of the neck, and I'll do that decrease there too. So this is just cleaning up the collar here, or the neck, just giving it a nice finished look. You know, it's always good to, if you can do something simple like a row of single crochet to make it look more finished, might as well. Especially if you're gifting. Alright, so I'm going to continue doing my row of single crochet until I get right here to the V part of the front of my top, and I'll meet you there, okay? Alright, I'm at the front of my work, and here is my V. Here's my seam. The stitch, there's a stitch on this side of the seam and a stitch on this side. We're going to do our single crochet, those two together. So we're going to go into the stitch and draw up a loop, and then into the stitch on the other side of the seam, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through those 3 loops on our hook, like that. And now we will continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get back around to our starting point there in the back. This yarn is nice and flowy. I like it. Stretchy, flowy, drapey. So I'll meet back up with you when I make it back around to the back there to where I started. Alright, I'm at the back of my work again, and I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into that first single crochet decrease there, like that we did. Tie that off. You can go around again if you want with another row of single crochet. That's up to you. Okay, so let's look at it now. Check it out, see what we're dealing with. Oh yeah, that looks nice. That looks nice. Looks better. That little touch of single crochet, you know, really makes a difference there. Okay, let's see. Now, before I work on the bottom, let's add some sleeves. So I'm just going to put some double crochet rows as the sleeves. So your number count really doesn't matter. Just make sure you have the same amount of stitches on each sleeve so they're the same size. And I'm going to start anywhere you want, but I'm probably going to start in the seam here. I'm going to start into the stitch that we seamed into last. I'm going to go into that stitch and make that my starting stitch. Okay. And I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back into that same stitch and double crochet. And now I'm going to work around putting 1 double crochet into every stitch. I'm going to hide that tail as I go. Now remember, if you do not want sleeves, you can leave them off, and you can also make your sleeves as long or as short as you desire. That's what's so great about crochet, you know. You can make it to fit your body and your liking. I always say, I just kind of lay it out here, and then you play it out to your likings. You want long sleeves? Make long sleeves. You want no sleeves? Make no sleeves. 3/4 sleeves, short sleeves. It's up to you. Large V-neck in the front, vest. You know, I give you the basics, and the rest is up to you. So I'm going to continue around putting 1 double crochet in every stitch here along the sleeve, and I'll meet back up with you when I get back around here to the beginning. Alrighty, I'm coming around to the first row of my sleeve, and you can see here's where my seam is, and I'm going to go into that stitch that last seam went into. And then I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now, you can do as many rounds of double crochet that you want for your sleeve, however long you want it. I'm going to chain 1, and you just go around again, putting 1 double crochet in every stitch. And just remember, count your stitches and make sure you do the same amount of stitches on each side for your sleeves, and do the same number of rows on each side for your sleeves. So I'm going to continue, and I'll let you know how many rows I do for my sleeves, but remember, it's completely up to you how many you do for yours. Alright, I've done 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of double crochet for my sleeve. Remember, more if you want, less if you want. Now I'm going to finish off, and I'm going to do 1 round of single crochets. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go into the same stitch and single crochet, and I'm going to work around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other sleeve that I just did here. And however many rows you did for your sleeve, you do the exact same thing on the other one. That way they match up. So when I get back around here with this row of single crochet, I'll just end by slip stitching into my first single crochet, tie off, hide the tail, and then I'm going to go to my other sleeve and work my 5 rows of double crochet in my 1 row of single, so we all match up on both sides. And then we'll start on the bottom of the shirt, and then we'll be finished. All right, sleeves done. Now, this is the back side of my work. There's a couple different things you can do for the bottom. One thing you can do is you can leave it, because it looks pretty good the way it is. I mean, the edges aren't too bad, and actually I might leave mine. Or you could do a couple rows of single crochet, which will be, you can do it. It's just going to be a little bit harder because you're working in the sides of these stubbles, but that would clean up the edge a little bit more. But I really, after looking at it, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. Another option you could do is put fringe, if you like fringe. Let me look at it at the front, and we'll decide. I always decide as I'm crocheting what I'm going to do. I really don't think that bottom looks bad, but you know what? I think if you left it, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to leave it. If I can clean up an edge, I'm going to do it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is start in the back. The back side of my work. You can see here's the front right here with the big dip. Here's the back. So I'm going to start right here in the middle of the seam, just somewhere. And like I said, it's going to be a little hard to see where the stitches need to go because we're working on the sides of these double crochets, and it's the difficult part. The first round will probably be the hardest. So any stitch here in the back, chain 1, and then go back into it and single crochet. Now the best thing you can do when you're working on the bottom, or you're working anywhere where you're working in the sides of double crochets, is just to evenly space out your single crochets the best that you can. It's not going to be perfect. Me and you are not going to have the same number of stitches because we're just doing our best to try to space them out. I don't know if it's worth the trouble, because I do think it looks okay, or pretty good. Not cleaned up, actually. Let me see how hard it is going to be for me to do this. Yeah. I might go ahead and try to work slowly around, evenly spacing out my single crochets. And then I'll do another round of single crochet on top of that, but that will be a lot easier because you would have already gone around it once. Remember, this isn't even really necessary. I think it looks good both ways, so but it does straighten up that bottom edge. But all right, so I'm just going to continue doing the best I can, evenly spacing out single crochets all the way around the bottom until I get back here to my starting point. And then I believe I'll go around again one more time just to straighten it up, and I'll probably be about finished with it. Yay, huh? Yeah. All right, round I go, evenly spacing out my single crochets. I'll meet you back up here at the beginning. All right, I am done at the bottom. So what I did was I went around with 1 row of single crochet, and then I slip stitched into my first single crochet, and then I went around one more time with another row. So there's 2 rows of single crochets at the bottom. You can do more if you want. It's completely up to you, but I'm finished. I think it looks so good, and I think the things that you can do with it, as I've mentioned in the video, is just endless. And the size that this one can fit is amazing. And just by going up another rows of increases, you know, you can increase it to a few more sizes. It's very versatile, very versatile. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks good. The yarn is nice, soft, drapey, sparkly, which I love. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Remember, if you make this or anything else, come follow me on Instagram and hashtag me at Bagoday Crochet. I'd really love to see a picture, see what you do with this. All right, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any videos, and until next time, you guys stay safe. Bye guys.